Activity, Industrial Relations, Youth and Sports, the Honorable Parveen Bala. You have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, the Honorable Members of Parliament, I rise in support of the 2019-2020 National Budget as delivered by the Honorable Minister of Economy and Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, I do so in support of a budget that has exceeded all expectations and predictions. Especially those who saw an opportunity to try and discredit it and the Fiji Affairs government even before the budget announcement. Mr. Speaker, regardless of their failed attempts at sabotage, this is a budget that is smart in its rational and clear in its setting of physical goals and achievable outputs and outcomes. Every dollar allocated is allocated with clear purpose and intent for its spending and identify benefits for all Fijians. It is a budget of the times and for the times, a budget that addresses the issues of today for the economic and social well-being for all Fijians for tomorrow and beyond. Mr. Speaker, let me express my gratitude to the Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Economy and his team for presenting a responsible, responsive and forward-thinking budget. I support the budget for its environmentally prudent and responsible allocations, including provisions for green and blue economic growth. These are areas of particular interest to stakeholders in my portfolio, including workers, employers, investors, and our youth. I am pleased to note the priority given to the inclusive allocations for digital transformation and enhancements in all sections of the economy, from e-portals and platforms that are enabling in areas of the economy such as revenue collection to contributing to our wellness and health, and a conducive e-atmosphere for workers and investors. Mr. Speaker, the budget delivered in a clear and concise stance the benefits of drawing up physical policies based on dialogue and a consultative process. As the Honourable Minister of Economy outlined in his address, this is a budget dialogue rather than an announcement, as it reflects the will of all Fijians who contributed to this process. Mr. Speaker, in continuing in the spirit of this dialogue, allow me to make a few general comments before I turn to specific remarks relating to areas of employment, productivity, industrial relations, youth and sports that fall under my ministerial portfolios. Mr. Speaker, my ministry is well served across its diverse range of impact areas by the budget. It is, after all, a ministerial portfolio that touches the lives of all Fijians, from putting food on the table to bringing joy in our lives through the achievements of our sports champions and youth. As outlined in the budget address, Fiji has gone through the past decade of never seen or achieved before economic growth. 10 years of economic growth, and this must be told time and again, Mr. Speaker, that it was only achieved by the Fiji Affairs government that has grown in confidence as it has provided an environment of progress, peace and stability for all Fijians. And Mr. Speaker, I must say that economic growth for all in Fiji has been achieved through a range of far-reaching and visionary budget plans and policies. Mr. Speaker, the implementation of these budget provisions has improved the lives of all Fijians, in particular those who have been disadvantaged in the past. Mr. Speaker, growth that is sustainable and relevant to all Fijians is a unique achievement by the Fiji Affairs government, and one that it continues to deliver in its second term in office. This record decade of continued economic growth has been achieved within a framework that meets the basis for sustainable, equitable, relevant, and people-focused development. Mr. Speaker, an achievement that meets the basis for sustainable growth, said by the former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon when he said, and I quote, "Saving our planet, lifting people out of poverty, advancing economic growth, these are one and the same fight. We must connect the dots between climate change, water scarcity, energy shortages, global health, food security, and women's empowerment. Solutions to one problem must be solutions for all." Mr. Speaker said, we have moved forward with this budget dialogue, and let us not forget that this is the period of unprecedented economic growth, and progress has also been one where Fiji, under our Honorable Prime Minister, has taken to the world stage on issues spearheaded by his timely and novel leadership on climate change as the chair of COP23. It is also a period where the Fiji Affairs government has invited the world to set up a stage in Fiji, be it the pre-COP23 or the recent annual general meeting of Asian Development Bank, or closer to my portfolio in the historic hosting of the International Junior World Weightlifting Championship. Mr. Speaker said, this is the first time that any Oceania nation has hosted any world championship in any IOC at any levels. And this achievement came on the back of our hosting of the Super Rugby match and capped off by our win in the World Sevens Series and elevation to the world champions. A weekend that truly showcased Fiji as a leader and innovator in the region and internationally. Mr. Speaker said, I join the Honorable Prime Minister and I take this opportunity to congratulate the Fiji Sevens side and the Fiji Rugby Union and recognize that this sets the ideal platform for the Rugby World Club later this year and the defense of our Olympic gold medal in Tokyo 2020. The elevation of Fiji onto the global stage as leaders of innovation in Oceania is a direct reflection of the economic, social, and political stability under the Fiji Affairs government. Mr. Speaker said, and to grow champions and to expand our role on the regional and global sporting stage, I welcome the allocation made for sports. This includes funding of over 4 million for the preparation and hosting of the international tournaments in a diverse range of sports. This includes, Mr. Speaker said, the key events such as the 2019 Rugby World Cup, HSBC 7 Series, 2020 Paralympics qualifiers, Football Under-16 qualifiers, 2020 World Bowl Championship, and of course the 2020 Olympics. Mr. Speaker said, in addition, we welcome the 3.1 million for hosting events including football, netball, surfing, and rugby in the coming year, and the 1.5 million for the 2019 Oceania Men's and Women's Rugby Sevens. Mr. Speaker said, it is important to note that sports is greatly expanding its role in providing professional play pathways in a range of sports, with current remittance hitting the 20 million mark annually. Sports also generate a wide variety of local economic activity, from corn sellers to sports merchandising. And as a nation, Mr. Speaker said, we must acknowledge that such sports branding and achievements makes Fiji a credible nation internationally. A Fiji where we attract more funding options and attract investment leading to job opportunities and diversifications. Mr. Speaker said, we must continue to grow the Fijian brand through our global presence, and sports play a leading role in that area. Mr. Speaker said, by sustaining brand Fiji, we sustain the Fijian people. A Fiji where aspirations becomes reality for all Fijians. And as this budget has strongly advocated education and training, this provides the means of having a skill set that makes for a productive and growing Fiji. In relation to the portfolios of employment, productivity, and industrial relations, Mr. Speaker said, the budget continues to prioritize in a smart manner by developing a skilled workforce to meet current and future demands. The budget in its allocation allows through a multi-sectoral approach for the foundation of a knowledge-based nation and a skills nation. A Fiji where we have skilled and productive workers in all sections of the economy, from the farms to the fisheries to the digital world that we are embracing. Mr. Speaker said, as the Honourable Minister for Economy has outlined, these programs are necessary as we play catch-up after years of neglect by these, among other sectors, by previous governments. Because of this outright neglect, we have lost at least 2 generations of skilled workers and trained professionals. It is within this context that we must frame the achievements of the Fiji first government in rebuilding and refocusing. Mr. Speaker said, and this rebuilding of Fiji in all aspects of Fijians' life is perhaps best displayed in the way the Fiji first government undertook to rebuild with purpose after a series of extreme weather events headlined by T.C. Winston. The Fiji first government chose not to take shortcuts, or as the Honourable Minister for Economy said, has chosen not to engage in band-aid solutions. Instead, the rebuilding process has been one where mitigation against future such events have been included in the planning and implementation of the post-disaster process. Mr. Speaker said it is pertinent to point out that even developed nations have taken time, often even decades, to recover from such events. Hurricane Katrina being a case in point in the US. In that regard, the recovery, rehab, and the mitigation efforts post-T.C. Winston is indicative of a resilient and committed Fiji first government ready and able to meet any challenges head-on. And all this must be given context without some of the most people-friendly tax and economic initiatives to be found anywhere in the world. The recovery efforts were not based on increased taxes. Indeed, it took place in a period when VAT was reduced to 9% and taxable individual income. And let me repeat, Mr. Speaker, individual income, not family income, threshold was increased to 30,000 along with other attractive tax incentives. Smart thinking, smart planning, and even smarter implementation of the tax revenue collection have also exemplified the success of the Fiji First economic planning and policies. Mr. Speaker said, given the figures we have previous governments, if they had properly implemented the tax regime and tax revenue collection in the first 30 years since independence, would have left a better legacy of infrastructure, employment opportunities, and development in general. Without such measures and enforced compliance, as citizens, all taxpayers need to ensure that if they make money, they make profits, then they should feel entitled to ensuring the taxable portions are given to government. We need to have a shift in the mindset to this sense of entitlement to pay tax and not to avoid it. On a related note, Mr. Speaker, I welcome the initiative to increase to 100% tax rebates on the employer FNPF contribution. Mr. Speaker said this means Fijian companies and employers have an added incentive to ensure timely and compliant payments of their contributions to safeguard our workers. And I'm confident that our friends in this sector will do the right thing for their businesses by doing the right thing for the workers of this country and pay their FNPF fully and on time. Mr. Speaker said all these economic initiatives, policies and plans and its achievements by the Fiji First government has happened and continues to happen while the opposition ride in with their stories of doom and gloom. Even as we speak, the opposition continues to spread the falsehood of economic collapse. We all know when and by whom the economy, budget and bank collapse. But then the opposition has a history of collapse around them, including the failed budget of 1993 and the collapse of the SBT government, despite having an unprecedented and absolute House and Senate majority. That was the so-called SBT boom that went bust even before boom. Mr. Speaker said, it is of special note that stakeholders such as the Fiji Association of Accountants have identified and supported the budget for its innovations of 5 pillars of economic growth, including a premium on our youth. The private sector has also shown their support, most notably through the assessment by the ANZ Bank of the fiscal responsibilities shown in the budget. And these allocations rationale is geared towards the present policies and are inclusive of youth and geared towards the future growth that aligns with our 5 and 20-year NDP. I welcome the support the budget for its alignment of the multi-sectoral initiatives that overlap and duplicate, such as youth awards under one umbrella. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, based on the outcome statement from the successful National Youth Sports Conference, will continue with programs identified especially in non-formal education and training areas of our youths. As such, I welcome the budget allocation for this purpose that cover a range of activities and professions from agriculture to fisheries to forest and trade. We will continue to provide a platform for dialogue and consensus building so our youth continue to have a voice in developments and affect them more than other Fijians. On a related note, Mr. Speaker said the Fiji National Job Fair also provided opportunities for employees and employers to interface. The National Job Fair was well supported by the youth demographic and provided an opportunity to once again listen to their views on employment. Honorable Speaker said, late last week it was an honor to receive the Employment Productivity Master Plan developed with Fiji by the Asian Productivity Organization, APO. The master plan will allow my ministry to integrate into key policy areas the mechanism towards a more productive Fiji. Productivity, or the lack of it, Honorable Speaker said, has been identified by all stakeholders as a pressing issue in Fiji. The master plan and its implementation towards a more productive Fiji will align with this budget's rationale for a leaner and meaner economy. A more productive Fiji will attract more investment and more robust economy. This will mean that workers and businesses and Fiji will gain with a premium on working smarter and making greater gains on productivity and greater gains for all Fijians. Mr. Speaker says, as timely and welcome budget allocation, Fiji will be celebrating 50 years of independence in 2020. This is an opportune time to reflect on the past 50 years and to be honest and recognize the years of wasted opportunities. As outlined earlier, this year of bust rather than boom, the years of mismanagement and underachievements. The 2019-2020 budget is a telling document for many reasons, including those that I have outlined earlier, and has added to my colleagues, and it will no doubt to be given additional weight in the address to follow. It is a document that shows clearly the accelerated progress under the Fiji First government, the kind of progress that all Fijians will want for the next 50 years. Progress based on inclusive, smart, globally aligned, and policies for all Fijians. Mr. Speaker says, as outlined by the Honourable Minister for Economy, the Fiji First government has a solid and proven record of recovery from events that are not of their making, whether it is the global financial meltdown, extreme weather events, or the legacy of failed governments and governance. The 2019-20 budget further proves Fiji against the bust and ban years of the past governments, including those led by the Honourable Leader of Opposition. It ensures a future of progress and development for all Fijians. Mr. Speaker, my ministry in summary is well served across its diverse range of impact areas by the budget. In supporting the budget, I welcome the allocation plans and robust policies for our workers, our investors, and our employers, and inclusion of youth through multi-sectoral provisions. I welcome the budget for its care for all Fijian families and the provisions for the green and blue economy growth. I welcome the budget for ensuring that we spend within our means, but get the best value for whatever we spend, and that spending will be relevant, sustainable, and lead to short, medium, and long-term gains. And Mr. Speaker, before I conclude, there has been some comments made in regards to the national minimum wage rate. Let me remind this Honourable House that the consultant was misquoted by the media, and let me also remind this Honourable House, Mr. Speaker, that there has been no recommendation made to the government by the consultant on the minimum wage rate. So let's be clear on that. Please stop spreading lies. Stop spreading lies. Because This is something to do with our very poor of this country. So let that process happen. It is my humble request to the members of the opposition. Mr. Speaker say, honorable members, I thank you all and reiterate my support for the 2019-2020 budget.
All right,